The Homeland Security recommendations finally passed into law, signed by the President. Mandatory screening of air cargo and ship containers, long overdue, long overdue. I voted for that 5 years ago, right after 2001, and it took until now to finally get it enacted into law.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, first I'd like to thank you for having these forums. It's great that you get to express our views and talk to the representatives.
Talk louder.
I'm sorry. Just thanking him for having this.
He's recognizing the most members, there's an article in the paper, maybe that's what you're alluding to. 90% of members of Congress don't have town meetings. They're going to these, what are they called? Tele-town hall meetings. Over 90%. In fact, I told 3 of my colleagues in the cloakroom the last night, Saturday night last week, before we adjourned, I'm having town meetings, and they said, "Are you crazy? All you get are blank, 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 blank." You know what? I thank every one of you for being here. Whether you agree with me on anything or not, I respect you for being here. I respect your right to let your opinion be known. That is true participatory democracy, and I commend you all for being here.
Here, here.
This is for you. Please.
We have 2 ongoing wars right now in America, and we look back at the impetus of the stimulus for these wars, and it was the events of September 11th. Now, a number of us have independently investigated those events, and I'm an engineer and a pilot, and I can tell you conclusively that those buildings on September 11th were brought down by explosives.
Yes.
And the reason how we know this, is because the speed at which the buildings came down. They came down at free fall speed. And there's only 2 ways that a building can come down at free fall speed. 1, if it topples over, or 2, if you remove its infrastructure. And we all know the buildings didn't topple over, so their infrastructure, those buildings had to be removed. And it was done by explosives. The second reason how we know is there was molten metal in the rubble of those buildings. For 8 weeks later, there's plenty of evidence of this. To get metal to be molten, it has to be up to 2,800 degrees. And to have it molten for that long, for 2 months, on these cool autumn nights, is absolutely impossible unless you have an ongoing chemical reaction. And we only have one good explanation for that ongoing chemical reaction. It's the cutter charges that brought down those buildings. The third reason how we know, sir, is because those buildings had, each floor had 1 foot of concrete between separating each floor. That's 110 stories, 110 feet of concrete. That would be 10 feet high, 10 stories high of concrete that should be left in the rubble of those buildings. You look at those footage of those, one of the collapse of the buildings, and you see no concrete, racks, boulders, nothing. It should be 10 stories high. Instead, what we got over my head covered with total dust. It takes an enormous amount of energy to do that, and every engineer in America will tell you that. And the fourth reason that we know, we only found, 292 bodies were found in that day out of 2,743 people who were killed. Now, 1,100 bodies, they found no parts of them, nothing whatsoever. They were totally vaporized. Of the 292 that did found, they counted the bodies as being only half of the corpse. So this is under a very liberal definition. You're only finding 292 people, and 1,300 people that finding small pieces of their arm. They're on a building across the street this last December. They found bone fragments. They're only about 1 centimeter big. Now, how can you get people's bodies converted into 1 centimeter sized bone fragments? And underneath manhole covers, they found bone fragments that were that big. And I brought a number of videos here. Every one of you can take one of these. You can watch them, and you can see there were dozens of witnesses that day where explosions going on in the buildings before they came down. And so we need a new investigation. We need to find out who brought these buildings down, who put the explosives in the buildings. It's imperative for the future of this country. We cannot go on and make forward progress using false assumptions of the past.
Here, here. All right.
So you really don't think it was Al Qaeda who brought down those towers?
No.
And what?
The government story is fully false. Another
You really don't think it was the terrorists who crashed those planes and killed my friend,
Nope.
Gordiama Jr.?
No, I do not. I'm a pilot. I can tell you that this.
Did you read the report?
Yes, I have.
Of the commission?
This gentleman, I say, Heidi Honda, flew a 757 to the Pentagon. That's a bunch of malarkey. That guy could never get in the
Well,
cockpit.
this is the beauty of the First Amendment in action. We can say as outlandish things as we want, and we can be free to express different views. I'll tell you that I must admit, and now I understand what the Investigate 9/11 T-shirts are all about. you're a good spokesperson, very articulate, but I certainly have not seen any evidence that it was anything but the Al-Qaeda terrorists who were responsible for not only the bringing down the World Trade Center, the 2 towers, but also killing one of the most respected people in America, Republican, former Secretary of State, as well as Lee Hamilton, who co-chaired that commission. Another one of the most respected people in America, happens to be a Democrat, chaired the Committee on Foreign Relations in the House when he was there. Let me tell you what Baker and Hamilton said about this legislation, the Baker-Hamilton legislation. Quote, "This outlines the best chance of salvaging a measure of stability in Iraq. Training Iraqi security forces should be our primary mission so we can turn over security to Iraq and start bringing our troops home." And yes, they do recommend that start, the goal of April 2008 for starting to bring our troops home. I will, along with my friend Mark Udall, Democrat from Colorado, who's chairing, or who's chief sponsor of this bill in the House. The chief sponsor happens to be a Republican in the Senate, Senator Alexander of Tennessee. There's strong, growing bipartisan support for this bill in both bodies. In other words, I think we're making progress. I think September 15th is going to be a key date. I think you're going to see the focus on developing an exit strategy, fulfilling our mission, and changing that mission, as I just outlined, pursuant to the Baker-Hamilton report. Somebody who hasn't had a chance. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts about Baker-Hamilton?
Better than what we got.
Better than what we got.
Carlisle group?
That's true.
Is he not in the Carlisle group?
Is Baker in the Carlisle group?
I'm asking him.
I don't know what the Carlisle group is.
Well, they were meeting with George H.W. Bush the night before 9/11 with Osama bin Laden.
Planning the conspiracy of 9/11, right?
If you looked at the World Trade Center 7,